With the Senior Bowl just now wrapping up, it's about time we start to head into the draft season here and start running through our full 7-round mock draft simulations for all 32 NFL teams. Today we're going to kick off with the first video here of the Green Bay Packers. So heading into the draft here, before we even get into the draft simulation, let's take a look at the Packers depth chart and get a little bit of a game plan and the outlook heading into this draft. So clearly free agency has not hit, so there's a lot of names that could be added and cut from the Packers. But for the sake of the video here, let's do a little pretend and let's make our predictions of what we think is going to happen this offseason. So immediately right off the bat, I think a lot of veterans with these big contracts are going to be gone because I think the Packers are going to finally hit the rebuild switch and head into this transition period. So to start, Aaron Rodgers is most likely going to get traded. Aaron Jones will probably get cut just due to that $20 million cap hit. He's got an absurd cap hit. It's just there's a lot of money for an old running back. He's a phenomenal Packer. He doesn't deserve to get cut. He needs to be restructured or he's probably going to be let go, sadly. Guys like Allen Lazard, I just don't know if the Packers financially would be in a spot to re-sign him. Robert Tonyan, he's going to be back. Everybody else is really going to be back on the offensive line. We may not see guys like Adrian Amos get cut. Preston Smith could get cut. But overall, those are the big names that are probably going to be off the roster. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the offensive side of the ball here. First off, starting quarterback's gone, starting running back's gone. We're going to lose a receiver. So right off the bat, I'm thinking Jordan Love. We need to build around Jordan Love's future. The offense is going to be a priority. Getting weapons for Jordan Love to help this transition to be as smooth as possible so we can enter right back into a window of competing in the next couple of years. On top of that, with getting weapons and maybe a true slot receiver, I think offensive line, we need depth there. We could honestly replace the whole right side of the offensive line. On defense, this is the defensive unit that has seen a lot of assets poured into it. We've seen a lot of first-round picks here. Kenny Clark, Jair Alexander, Eric Stokes, Quay Walker, etc. A lot of assets poured into this defense with a lot of big contracts, a lot of money spent here. I think this is an offseason and this is the draft where the Packers have to look away from the defense and focus all about the offense. So with that in mind, let's turn it back over to the mock drafts. We got a little bit of a big board in our mind here: wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, skill positions, and offensive linemen. And as we flip to the mock draft here, we see the first trade on draft night. We see the Packers going to ship off Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets. In return, they'll get the 13th overall pick, the Jets' second-round pick, and the disgruntled wide receiver in Elijah Moore that's clearly been unhappy with New York. Elijah Moore gets a much-needed fresh start. The Jets get their franchise quarterback for the next 2, maybe 3 years to compete with. So let's offer this trade. And as we see, the trade has been accepted. So now the Packers get themselves a phenomenal receiver in Elijah Moore that gets a fresh start. They get some picks here to help build around young quarterback Jordan Love. So now as we progress through the draft here, we see at pick 13 with the Jets pick, we are on the clock. And right off the bat, we're going to keep on the same boat of adding weapons, adding pieces of this offense. Robert Tonyan has been a phenomenal player. He's a phenomenal veteran. But Michael Mayer, you can't match his just all around. He is the pinnacle of what a tight end is. He's got great size. He's a great inline blocker. He's got great second level releases. He's just a great mismatch across the middle of the field. It's a big safety net that can develop with Jordan Love throughout years to come. So here we go. We're at pick 15 here. Now, keep in mind, we already got Elijah Moore, a phenomenal receiver that I think can play in the slot, that can play outside. He just adds this speedy dynamic to the Packers offense. Now at pick 15, I think we're going to stay on the same boat here of getting offensive weapons. Obviously, Rodgers went his whole career without a first-round receiver, and it's going to be tough to see in Jordan Love's first year starting. He's going to get himself a first-round receiver. We're going to stay on the same topic here of speedy receivers and Zay Flowers. He's shooting up people's draft boards, and there's a reason for that. He might be the best run-after-catch receiver in this draft class. He's explosive with great vision. He's speedy. He can burn past defenses. You throw him a bubble, you throw him a little ball in the flats, he can turn the corner and take it to 75 yards for a touchdown anywhere across the field. This is the type of big-time playmaker that Jordan Love needs working out of the slot. So here we go. We got Zay Flowers. This wide receiver corp is already night and day better than what we had last year. So heading into the second round, we got ourselves two receivers already. We got ourselves a tight end. And honestly, as we look at the big board here, I think we're going to stay in the same topic here of receivers. Tank Dell or Nathaniel Dell here is looking very appeasing. He dominated at the Senior Bowl. A little bit on the smaller side, just like Zay Flowers. I don't think he's 5'10". I think he might be 5'9", 160. He's definitely a smaller frame. But the biggest issue with these Packers receivers last year was the ability to get off man coverage and get separation from corners. Nathaniel Dell is a phenomenal route running receiver that can break through and get great releases off the line of scrimmage. So we got ourselves Zay Flowers. Now we got ourselves Tank Adell here. Two speedy, athletic, explosive receivers, which is what the Packers need. And those two receivers are going to shred man coverage next year for the Packers. All right, so we got three receivers. We got ourselves a tight end. We are loaded up at the skill position. This room is phenomenal, and it's set up for Jordan Love to succeed. Now, what's the next spot from here? Like I said, offensive line. Josh Myers has been a red flag. He's been up and down ever since we drafted him. He just doesn't seem like he can be consistent enough. And that's where a guy like John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota jumps off the screen to me here. Big body from a run-heavy scheme at Minnesota. He fits the outside zone scheme mold. He had a phenomenal week at the Senior Bowl. He might have honestly probably bolstered his draft stock to even push him into the first round. But in this simulation, he's here at the second round first. John Michael Schmitz will be a Green Bay Packer. He's going to be great whether he's a depth play or he can push for a starting job. Whatever it is, he's needed. It helps solidify that offensive line to protect Jordan Love so he can get the ball in those speedy, explosive receivers' hands. So here we go. We got ourselves, like I said, what a phenomenal foundation we've built for Jordan Love. A great, solid offensive unit so far. And we're going to stay on the same subject here. Yosh Nijman has been a great rotational piece for the Packers over the few years, but another Senior Bowl standout. This is almost like an all-Senior Bowl type team so far. So we're going to go right back to it here with DeJuan Jones. Massive human being. We saw at the Senior Bowl. Largest wingspan the Senior Bowl's ever seen. Honestly, DeJuan Jones has probably played himself up into the first round. So the fact that he's here in the third round, it's beyond a steal. Realistically, he probably won't be here. If DeJuan Jones wasn't here, we'd probably go with a guy like Noah Sewell, another middle linebacker, maybe even Nick Arbig from Wisconsin. But in this simulation, DeJuan Jones is here, which I think might be my number one right tackle. I think he is another guy that can honestly be a day one starter, push Yosh Nijman for maybe the starting job. Massive human being. His 6'9" frame is just going to solidify the front side, the right side of that offensive line. And once again, just keeping Jordan Love upright and not letting him take any unnecessary hits. So here we go. We got ourselves two offensive linemen, three speedy, explosive receivers. We got ourselves a phenomenal true inline tight end that's great at blocking, that's great at catching. Now, what are we looking at here? Like I said, we're here heading into the fourth round now. We've kind of brushed off the defense, so it's definitely an area we could look at. But at the same time, we haven't addressed the loss of Aaron Jones yet. Guy like Chase Brown, Tyjae Spears would be a phenomenal fit. Explosive running back that can catch the ball out of the backfield. Would be a great 1-2 punch with A.J. Dillon. But it's hard to turn down. I cannot pronounce his name, but Adre Iosovias, I apologize if I butchered his name, from Princeton. Another phenomenal athlete. He's a guy that could possibly be running in the 4.3 at the combine. A little bit bigger on the size. Will probably be an outside receiver, but he'll be a great complement. We've got ourselves three receivers that'll play inside and in the slot, but we need to keep adding depth on the perimeter, and that's why I think Andre here is going to be a perfect fit out of Princeton. Explosive 4.3 type receiver. Honestly, reminds me a lot of a guy like Christian Watson from a smaller school. So honestly, we can get ourselves a possible quote-unquote Christian Watson clone, which obviously is probably a pretty big stretch for that. It would be a phenomenal pick, and it's just adding more depth on the outside to support Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. So now we got ourselves an outside receiver. We got ourselves three inside slot receivers, and honestly, Elijah Moore could bump out and play outside. But this receiving room has been completely transformed, and we're really loading these pieces up to help support Jordan Love. Here we go, heading into the fifth round. Let me see when our next pick is here. We don't have another pick till pick 171. This is a little bit of a tough area here. Deuce Vaughn is jumping off the screen at me. This is somebody that's slipping down draft boards just because of his size, but he reminds me a lot of a Darren Sproles-esque running back. I think he's going to be extremely productive, running the ball, catching the ball. He's a phenomenal complement to A.J. Dillon. But Ivan Pace Jr. from the Cincinnati, the Senior Bowl just wrapped up, so maybe it's just so prevalent in my mind, but Ivan Pace jumped off in the Senior Bowl game. He was like a wrecking ball. Yeah, I think there was one play where he literally blew an offensive tackle back into the backfield, tackling the running back. Ivan Pace can play outside as a rush guy in the perimeter. I think he can also play middle linebacker. He's a twitchy athlete. So I think this honestly helps out the linebacking core, whether he's rushing the passer, he's twitchy and athletic in coverage, wherever they want to put him at, I think he's going to succeed. And again, it's a huge priority for the Packers to refine and retune that interior defensive box. So, like I said, we've addressed the offense extremely well. We've lacked on paying attention to the defense, which obviously the defense, you could honestly argue, was the biggest concern last year. So maybe we don't want to keep pushing them off. So let's keep an eye here, see if there's anybody that's fallen to us. Honestly, what's jumping off at the screen to me right here, with the possibility of Preston Smith being let go and cut to save some cap numbers, to save some money, a guy like B.J. Thompson jumps off the screen at me. Again, another Senior Bowl guy, but he's got great size. He's 6'5", 6'6", explosive athlete once again, just like Ivan Pace. B.J. Thompson is even more athletic, more explosive. We saw at the Senior Bowl, he was dropping into pass coverage. At Stephen F. Austin, he was mainly not hand in the dirt. He was mainly a rush guy outside, rushing the passer, but he also showed the ability and the twitchiness and the fluidity in his hips to be a drop and coverage guy. So B.J. Thompson, honestly, a little bit of a stretch, but he reminds me a lot of the guy like Micah Parsons, a do-it-all type of athlete. Obviously, there's concerns. That's why he's here in the 5th round and not up in the 2nd or 1st round. He's a little bit of a tweener. He's got a really small frame. He needs to put on some weight. So he's more of a developmental guy. But if he can develop, put some weight on his frame, and keep that athleticism, like I said, he has the ceiling to be a Micah Parsons type player. So here we go. We're going to be heading into our next pick all the way in the 7th round. This is where we want to start to fill out the roster. We got ourselves a pair of really nice linebackers that I think can play coverage and can also rush the passer. Just keep adding depth there. And we kind of, we've loaded up the offense, but also some big things that are jumping off to me here is maybe another quarterback just to add some depth behind Jordan Love, maybe another young rookie quarterback. Jaron Hall here late in the 7th, I think would be a great value pick, especially since he was sick at the Senior Bowl. I think he could easily fall here to the 7th, and he offers a good just security net for the Packers. But honestly, the more I look at the screen here, Hunter Lepke from North Dakota State, a smaller school kid. Yes, he's a fullback. Yes, not a lot of teams in the NFL use fullbacks anymore. But I think Hunter Lepke could be a great H-back, kind of move around body for the Packers. He'll be great on kickouts. He can help start to replace that Mercedes Lewis type role as the blocking tight end, blocking H-back. So with that in mind, let's get Hunter Lepke. Help us out in the run game here. So some big things that are jumping off the screen at me. I don't think we've addressed running back yet. I can't remember now if we've addressed running back. I don't think we have. So running back is definitely a need that's jumping off the screen at me here, and there's not a lot. Actually, I see a couple guys I like that'll be falling to us. So we'll hold off on running back here, and we're going to keep here on the same. Oh, actually, Tavion Thomas, great outside zone runner. Another one-cut running back that could help be a complement to A.J. Dillon in the backfield. But there's another name down here, if I could remember where it was at. Little early. All right. So, yeah, we're going to go the route of Tavion Thomas. We're going to get ourselves our second running back here. Kind of just try to find a filler piece behind A.J. Dillon to make sure he's not bolstering all of the workload. As I scroll down here a little bit, we got ourselves Tavion Thomas. Like I said, he's a one-cut running back. He'll be a great complement. He's obviously not going to be a starter in front of A.J. Dillon. It's going to be A.J. Dillon's backfield next year. So I scroll down here a little bit. Another name jumping off the screen to me is Noah Gendorf. I believe he's coming off a torn ACL, pretty significant injury, which is going to allow him to slip late into day 3 in the draft. But if he can come back from this significant knee injury, Noah Gendorf is a complete mismatch. 6'7", almost 6'8", massive human being. He's a great mismatch. He'll be a great number 2, number 3 tight end to pair up with Michael Mayer, just adding more weapons for Jordan Love. Like I said, there's multiple clips where I could show you guys Noah Gendorf catching balls down the field, running over safeties. Once he gets his full head of steam, he's hard to get brought down. Massive human being, big body, big frame, easy safety net for Jordan Love. So here we go. We're heading down here towards the end of the draft. We only got a couple picks left, and this is where I'm going to turn my attention to Evan Hall here. Guy that's kind of getting overlooked just because of Northwestern struggles this year, but he's an explosive running back. We saw at the Senior Bowl. I think his top speed, he almost topped out at 20 miles an hour. Obviously, he's not like Tyreek Hill fast, but he's another running back that can really complement this backfield, as I think the Packers need to transition to maybe a run-heavy scheme to help ease the transition for Jordan Love. So we got ourselves a pair of running backs, a pair of tight ends, tons and tons of receivers. What else could we use? That's right, we need a safety. Obviously, I think that they probably should hold on to Adrian Amos, especially in this case. Didn't really find a good area to draft safety. Kavion Merriweather is a good late round piece, but realistically, you probably won't ever be a full-time starter. You'll be a rotational piece at best. And before we even know it, the draft is wrapped up. So let's take a look at how we did here. So looking at the board, let's see what PFF graded us. A B minus. Quickly recapping what we did here. Like I said, we got these picks for Aaron Rodgers. We got Elijah Moore, a guy that can play inside, play outside, a receiver that needs a fresh start. See how he lands in Green Bay, see how he fits. And then here we go, the first 3 picks in a row. Michael Mayer, true inline tight end, big body, big frame, big safety net. On top of that, he's a great inline blocker, can fit in the blocking scheme. Zay Flowers, little bit of a tweener, little undersized, will probably be playing in the slot, playing inside, off the ball, but he's got phenomenal vision. He's a twitchy, explosive athlete that can get off man coverage, work across the middle of the field, and is great with his run after catch ability. Same type of story with Tank Dell here. Nathaniel Dell blew up at the Senior Bowl. He's impossible to cover one-on-one. His releases off the line of scrimmage, it is hard to see any corner keep up with him. But the same concerns come to mind with him is his frame, his size. Is it going to be able to hold up in the NFL? If he starts to get jammed off the line, if corners start to get physical with him, is he still able to get those type of releases? If he can, he's going to be an explosive playmaker for the Packers. So those 3 picks right there, that's all about building a safety net for Jordan Love and finding a pair of receivers that can beat man coverage. Now, as we see, John Michael Schmitz, D+. I don't know why that would be the case. The Packers need offensive line depth. Josh Myers has been inconsistent at best as a starter. John Michael Schmitz can immediately come in day one, push Josh Myers for the starting job, or even be a phenomenal depth piece. Since Josh Myers, he struggled with that ankle injury, it just adds depth to the interior of the offensive line so we don't have to see guys like Royce Newman start again. DeJuan Jones, this is probably the most unrealistic pick. He is the type of guy that's going to be up here early second, even possibly mid to late first. Massive human being. He's going to push Yaj Nyman from day one. Again, just solidifying this offensive line. We got the weapons here for Jordan Love. Now we got to protect them. And that's what these 2 picks are all about. I think both these guys can honestly go earlier, maybe late first, early second. So these are obviously 2 steals. Probably realistically won't be there. Andre from Princeton here. I struggle to pronounce his name. I'm not, like I said, I'm going to keep probably butchering his name, but I've watched his tape. He reminds me of Christian Watson, explosive 4'3" guy, has pretty decent size to him. He's a complete athletic mismatch out on the perimeter. Honestly, he might be that Marquez Valdez-Scantling type guy who could play the Z in the offense while Christian Watson plays the X. Kind of supplement him and Romeo Doubs out for each other. Again, we just got 3 slot receivers. Honestly, Elijah Moore could play outside. So 2 slot receivers. We need to get a little bit of more receiver depth on the outside and out on the perimeter, and that's what the guy from Princeton will do. I can't pronounce his name. Andre, explosive, 4'3" speed, great size. Ivan Pace, BJ Thompson, 2 very similar and familiar type picks here. They're guys that I think have the athleticism to play in coverage. They also are twitchy and athletic enough to rush off the edge. So 2 type of do-it-all type linebackers that you can kind of bump all around at all the positions. I think BJ Thompson has one of the highest ceilings in the draft. Super twitchy, super athletic, has super fluid hips. Super excited to see where BJ Thompson goes and see how he develops. Hunter Lepke, more of an H-back, honestly, the true fullback type role. I think he's a guy that can start helping kind of develop behind Mercedes Lewis to hopefully when Mercedes Lewis is ready to retire, Hunter Lepke can step into that H-back, big body, big tight end blocking role. He's been a phenomenal fullback at North Dakota State. He even carried the ball a couple times, so even short yardage situations, maybe do a couple fullback dives with him. He just adds that H-back type body that the Packers are looking for. Now, as we look into the 7th round here, a lot of these are kind of dart throw type players. Tavion Thomas, Evan Hall, kind of the same story here. They're 2 outside zone, 1 cut type running backs. I think they'll both be good depth pieces. Probably should address running back earlier in the draft, but these are 2 running backs that will be good depth pieces to help shoulder some of the workload and not completely run A.J. Dillon into the dirt. Noah Gindorf is a coin flip type prospect. If he's able to come back fully healthy, he's a mismatch. He's a massive frame, 6'7", 6'8". He's just a complete mismatch across the middle of the field. You throw him contested balls, whatever it might be. He's the type of guy that's the definition of a safety net for Jordan Love. And obviously, we got Kayvon Merriweather here late in the draft. I think he might honestly go earlier than this, maybe in the 6th round. But like I said, we need that safety depth, especially with the chances of Adrian Amos going. So recapping the draft here, honestly, I grade the draft as an A. This draft right here, these first 4 rounds, I should say, this will give us a great sample to test if Jordan Love is the answer for next year. And honestly, we probably didn't even need Elijah Moore from the Jets. We kind of probably got their first this year, the second, and maybe a first next year. And maybe bolster a couple seconds if we need to trade up and get a quarterback next year. But these first 4 rounds right here, this will give us the answer if Jordan Love is the future for the Packers. Now we took some high ceiling type players here on defense and some dart throws here on offense that also have more of like a high ceiling, low floor type players here later on in the draft. If they hit, great. They're going to be phenomenal pieces. But more of like a dart throws. These first 4 rounds, I don't want to keep beating a dead horse, but this gets me fired up that the Packers can land anything that comes close to this. Obviously, like I said, DeJuan Jones is not going to be in the 3rd round. This was a dream pick. This is a luxury pick just because PFF has rankings that are not very smart. But at the end of the day, let me know your guys' thoughts on the mock draft. This gets me pretty fired up if the Packers can land this type of draft. But let me know what you guys think. Would you guys be happy to see the Packers do this? Let me know what I got wrong. I love hearing from you guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.